Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you this morning, Dad?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Good. Good. Well, welcome all who are here and who are coming. We're so glad that you all are here. Welcome to the temple. So, let's see. I am still getting to know this service here. But I'm really glad to have a conversation with you here today, Dad.
Okay.
Um, so I'm going to start by just creating the container, and I would love to also ask you. I'm gonna put you on the spot after I um, do what I'm going to do. I would love for you to do a prayer for us.
Okay.
Okay, so just taking a breath to center ourselves. As we come into the temple, I welcome the presence of our higher selves. I welcome the presence of the highest consciousness into this space, highest love, highest compassion. And I ask for the divine to hold us in the divine light today. And we welcome the benevolent teachers and weavers of the divine plan to grace this space, to support the expansion and sharing of spiritual experience and education. This is a place where we will witness the work that we talk about. We can be present for the unfolding of hearts returning to their true medicine. You may be called to this space today because you are seeking connection to your divinity, or you are seeking a space where you can truly dive into your inherent perfection. Remember how to heal, to walk the path of love, and to participate in the restoration of the divine plan on earth. Welcome. Will you make a prayer for us, Greg?
Sure. So we ask for love. That's with the capital L. To come be present, transmuting all doubts and concerns and worries into acceptance of beauty and well being for all participants and for this earth. And we thank love for being here, holding us in itself, and bringing us the awakening of our own true beings today.
And so it is. My sister is messaging me right now.
Really?
She must feel us
Uh,
in the field together. I love it. So hi, Dad.
Hi, Aaron.
Everyone, meet my dad. This is Greg McHugh. Greg McHugh is a certified clinical hypnotherapist. And I would love for you to, as and I know that you are a very thorough communicator. I'd love for you to briefly give us your background, and my specific question is, how did you come to create your own protocols with hypnotherapy?
Uh, okay, well, I had a training in Gestalt therapy way, a couple of 100 years ago in Big Sur and in San Francisco, and had a practice for group work with people in the Northern Sierras and in San Francisco. Then I joined a spiritual community that I was in for 9 years, I think, and in that experience had had uh, initiation of illumination
Hmm.
and the removal of the veil around the self. And yeah, that's like that. And so there was all this going on while I was in the community and learning and absorbing and opening. And then when I moved with my then wife to uh, Denver,
You mean my mom?
yes, your mom. That's good. Got to turn that around a little bit. And we both left that community, and so I started to study uh, hypnotherapy at several schools in the area in Colorado, Denver, Longmont, and then acquired the basic tools of providing hypnotherapy for people. And then in the process of doing that, expanded it and deepened. And at one point, I don't know when exactly, but it's about 20 years ago, I think, but acquired or developed what I call remote therapy, remote hypnotherapy, where I was using a surrogate, another hypnotherapist, putting them into trance, and then we would call forward the client and do work for the client through the surrogate.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the tools that I learned in Gestalt therapy became applicable in doing regression therapy, deepening into the process, so forth. So I was bringing in spiritual training, awarenesses about how being is and how it operates, and then the tools of Gestalt, and then the basic tools of clinical hypnotherapy, and
Yeah.
then developing more and more myself. And I wrote a book, which describes about 90% of what I do, and it's called The
I should
New.
have mine right nearby, but I don't.
Uh,
The
there,
big blue
I
book.
got it.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah. And I wonder, I love the triangle, and I know that the triangle itself is meaningful to you. I have tattooed triangles all over my body for some odd reason. Can you talk about the significance of the triangle, please?
Well, I had an experience when I was in meditation. I had met the community that I later joined, and it was called the Holy Order of Mans, MANS. It's not, I don't, I'm not sure if it's even incorporated anymore,
Hmm.
but then I met uh, this one who was the founder of the order and became my teacher. He was known as Father Paul. And so after meeting that community, going to the services, classes, I was staying at this institute, the Gestalt Institute, in San Francisco, where I was recovering from eye surgery and I was in meditation. Now, I have not shared this story very often, so if I get a little shaky with it, it's okay. So I was in meditation in the sort of living room that was adjacent to uh, a garden in a backyard. And I decided to go outside and have a cigarette, which I used to do. And but we didn't smoke in the building, so I had to go outside to do that. And I went outside and I turned around and I faced the building, and there was Jesus. And he was very large, maybe 8 feet in size. In the etheric vision that I saw, that was very substantive.
Hmm.
And he said, "Go inside and meditate." So I did. And I went inside, and he came in and then next to me and touched me on the shoulder.
Mm.
And a freight train of sound and light came roaring through me. And it just blew me away, and my jaw dropped open for about 5 minutes, stunned by the power and the light that was moving
Wow.
through me. And and then when it was over, he was still there in the room, and I was prompted to go to look in the mirror in the bathroom. And on my third eye was a triangle embedded into my skin as if it were a brand.
Yeah.
And that's
Wow.
where the triangle came in. So
Wow.
there's
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff with that. And I just, uh, I just could say I'm working for him, and that's uh, the brand. In effect, I was branded. Later, I was uh, initiated into the priesthood of the Christ, and
Mhm.
so on. And so that the triangle is like living in me, and it's
Mhm.
operational. And who knows what all the esoteric stuff is?
Right.
He knows, but he didn't lay it out on paper for me. So
Right. Right. Yeah. Wow. That's so powerful. That's so powerful. So I have a question and just want to say hello to everyone. And there's a beautiful comment here. Uh, nice to meet the person behind the book. So one of my students is here who's
uh,
in the middle of reading the book because it
good,
is required reading for the Magdalene mentorship. Your book is.
great,
Yeah, because it's such a beautiful foundation for spiritual alchemy, for understanding what happens to us. When whether we have sanskara that's following us from life to life, or carried in our belief systems, or we have attachments, right?
right,
Chapters 8 and
right.
9. SRT,
That's
but
good.
I want to ask you this question, um, what is the removal of the veil around the self? Can you talk about that, please?
Okay, self is born out of uh, divine presence, out of the Godhead, and in a process called emergence, it's birth of a soul, and the self being that aspect of God that we are, without any uh, experience with it. And then upon the emergence, it draws and attracts different experiences and learnings and well-beings and not so well-being and
Mm,
so forth.
mm,
So as we acquire those experiences in one life or another, there's created, it's like a field that has all these impressions and beliefs and experiences on it that cover the self. You
mm,
could think of it as a sphere with the veil being created by these different experiences. And the veil obstructs self reflection. That
mhm,
is, you can't see the self until the veil is penetrated or removed. And then,
mm,
upon when that happens, which can happen all at once or gradually, then the energy and the pure beingness of the self emerges, comes forward into natural expression without obstruction.
mm.
So the process of having the veil removed is very uh, like dramatic, almost shocking. I remember when the teacher who removed the veil around me before we met in the chapel where he did this thing. He warned me that I should not do anything for a few days. And I said, "Oh, yeah, sure." And so then he did the uh, protocol, is not a good word, but then I saw the self and felt it. And, uh, and the next day went to work, which he had advised me not to do. Well, the presence of the self was almost overwhelming. So I couldn't function. I had to take a streetcar down to this bookstore that I was working in San Francisco, and I was totally dysfunctional for the day. And I went
Is it
home
because you were hyper aware?
because I
Like,
was
was it a
stoned.
yeah, yeah, in, like, super high frequency that you couldn't function in the 3D kinda?
Right. That's pretty good description. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
So anyway,
Yeah.
um, then other things happened after that in my other initiation, but the removal of the veil was the largest shift in consciousness that I had experienced. The initiation into the priesthood was uh, powerful but different.
Mhm.
And great knowing came about in
Mm.
me upon that, and that was in Chicago. So a lot of water under the bridge and a lot of experiences. And realization of the self continues. I see it almost every day
Yeah.
in clarity.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's who I am. It moves me, directs me.
Mhm.
It wrote the book, you know.
Yeah. So, self is the same thing you think as higher self?
No,
Self with a capital S?
yeah, it's the self is not the higher self. Higher self is an aspect, almost a personality that has been acquired over lifetimes
Uh-huh.
with wisdom and connection with divine presence, and speaks and directs and says turn right or turn left. No, that's not a good idea. Don't do that, and so
Right.
on.
Yeah. So the self is above that, so to
Yes,
speak,
right.
vibrationally. Okay.
Transcends it. Yeah.
Right. So the first expression of being after the Godhead,
Yes.
right? That's what you
Right.
said. Okay.
Right.
It's fascinating. So fascinating to especially to be down here on earth, in this whatever it is, this frequency, and to desire to know ourselves better, to know to have better like spiritual understanding, and even just to go through figuring out the layers of our being
Yeah.
that is more than this physical self, like
Right.
so much more than this physical self, so much more than this personality. But how do we, allow the integration if we don't have an opportunity like a huge veil lifting like that? How can we tend to ourselves to open ourselves up to that higher wisdom?
Great question.
Or,
That's very good.
you know, yeah,
Yes.
how do we do that?
Devotion. Develop relationship with the
That
one
got
that
me.
loves
That like went straight to my heart. Ah,
you.
yes, yeah.
So that you wake up in the
Mm.
morning and you say to God who loves you, who's right there, hi,
Ay, yeah.
be with me today. Help me
Mm,
to connect with you in my heart and to be in all being. You help me do this because you can't
mhm,
do it in your mind. You have to ask for the experience to be brought to you by
mm,
God, by love, and then it will it will come. Whatever is needed or appropriate for that day, for that week, for your life
Mhm.
will come because you asked for it.
Right. Ask and you shall receive.
If you don't ask, it won't
Yeah.
happen.
Right. Right. We have a great question from Charisse. She says, so once the veil is removed and you were uh, zoned out for that first day, how did you move past it? How did you integrate, basically? Did your vibration raise to meet it, or did the high vibration kind of, you know, come back down to so that you could function? How long did that last? You said it was like that first day.
Three
You were,
days.
yeah.
It was
Okay.
3 days, but it's a total shift though.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
Mm-hmm.
it's not something that lasts. It's something that has. I was changed,
Yeah,
and
it
it was
changes you.
different,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I was connected with self, and saw it often throughout the day, and still see it. And it's not even still. It's like winking at me in the corner, or come in the room, and I turn, and it's there.
I remember this one time that we went to Seaside, Oregon. I think we Anna wasn't there. It was just you, me, and Denise, your current wife. And I remember being in this restaurant and you saying, like Denise was trying to say something to you, and you said, "Oh, I can't talk to you right now. I'm receiving a download." And I was like 16 or 17. I remember looking at you and be like, "What's that like?" Like I didn't ask, but I was just like, "Huh?" You
Uh,
know? And now I'm like, "Whew, I get it."
uh,
Maybe not to the extent, but I can relate even just a little bit to how spirit just comes in the middle of what you're doing and gives you,
yeah.
information. Yeah. Yeah. Or support, or, divine energy.
So then I want to go back to your question about what can a normal person do to
Yeah.
come to the experience of the removal of the veil?
Great.
And I can say that as a teacher, that I've come to realize how that process can happen, and to do devotion number one,
Yeah.
and then make an intention for healing of lives that need to be addressed with healing,
Right.
which can happen and recur through clinical hypnotherapy, regression therapy, spirit releasement, and
Right.
so that your whole life becomes one of enveloping, or embracing those tools for your own spiritual healing,
Yeah.
and layer by layer, as trauma is healed from the prior life or from this life, and you experience deeper connection with the self, then eventually uh, a whole accumulation of trauma impressions at one point can be removed. It's like peeling off something,
Right.
veil, and so that can happen. I don't
Hmm.
I don't recommend people that are out there saying they're doing it, but I can say that if your intention is to have union with that one that you are, and you foster your own devotional relationship with that one and with other great teachers, Jesus, Mary, Elijah, Kuan Yin,
Hmm.
then that will facilitate the opening and the clearing of the obstructions so that you can come to see the self. And it may happen spontaneously or
Hmm.
through a protocol.
Yeah. Yeah. So bottom line is starting your day with devotion and asking for that connection,
right.
and also for divine will to be in charge, that's I'm adding that. you know, but, I think that that is the a really big step for people to take, is to trust divine will, you know? We're in this place of, "Well, I have free will, and I'm gonna trust my inner guidance, or I'm gonna trust, my higher self to do the thing." And, um, however, sure, yes, um, if we can actually this is the lesson I'm learning right now, Dad.
Huh?
If we can actually hand our will over, if we can surrender our hearts to divine love, right?
Yes.
It will.
Yeah,
You know? It will guide us, it will take over, it will bring us the healing that we need, and it might not be comfortable while it's happening, but we know that healing is on the other side, you know? And I can personally just, attest to the last kind of week and a half of hardship that I had, a little mini dark night of the soul
right.
that was a big healing for me, and, my humility as well, and my oh, yeah. How did I lose my connection? How did I even notice that I wasn't doing my "It's all up to you," like,
Right, right.
at some point, "No, no, no, I got this," like, don't even try that. Don't even try that. Don't what it's actually referred to in the, Native American church, in the tradition of the teepee and the peyote ceremonies, is they say, "Don't get in front of the medicine," right?
Yeah,
And so that's how I kind of interpret when my ego gets in front of me, that I'm allowing myself to get in front of the medicine. I'm not sitting behind divine will, and allowing it to guide me wherever I need to go,
that's
right?
good.
That's
That's
the task. That's the charge, and even like the request of the divine is just for you to trust implicitly, to really just trust me. Okay, all right, I'll trust you. you know yeah,
well,
there's
a simple prayer that you can make in
mm,
that relationship with the divine that works. I think I got it out of Course in Miracles a long time ago. And that is to ask it to say, please bring me the experience of union with you.
mm,
And there are all kinds of machinations that we end up in when we're trying to pray for something. But this is the simplest thing is you're asking the divine to bring you the experience, not for you to figure it out or to
mhm,
make it up or to get I'm going to get humble real soon or something. You just say, please bring me the experience of your love
mm,
and your realization,
mhm,
and
mhm.
then get up and have breakfast.
And go about your day and trust that it's happening.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. um Cherie says, seems like love is the key to every lock.
That's a good one.
That is a
Yeah.
good one. So there's also a question, from Tess, who is outside of Vancouver Island in BC. She asks, "What does Dad think of Rumara?" Um,
I have no,
you,
I just know you asked permission one time if I could be incorporated in a healing with Romara, and I went, sure.
yeah,
That's all I know.
yeah, yeah, um, yeah. I it's all a mystery. It's all a just like constant, discovery, right? And super helpful, just this conversation talking about the difference between self and higher self, right?
Hmm.
And then my understanding is that this presentation of my higher self is in the form of a dragon, right?
In the
Which
form of
is
a witch? What did you
of a
say?
dragon,
Oh,
right?
okay. All right.
So that's who Rumara is like my higher self,
Okay.
right? In some way. But you know, still learning about that and that higher frequency that is held by our higher selves. How do we integrate? How do we allow our own wisdom that and this is, you know, goes into past lives as well. What about the initiations that we've received in other lives? What about the veils that have been lifted before? How do we, you know, bring that forward or help ourselves in the way, you know, in other lives that we've achieved mastery of some kind?
Well, all of those are like posits for questions. So you can ask the question, you know, for instance, are there lifetimes that I need to uncover certain experiences or initiation and say to God and love, please bring me the experience of recalling those and then see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, sometimes we get, well, often we get messages and symbols in our lives before they manifest.
Okay.
Happens a lot. So, for example, before the triangle on my forehead, I was thinking of this white triangle all the time. And why the F was I thinking about this? I had
Right.
no idea.
Right.
I even made one on a piece of plywood and nailed it to a tree to the road to the cabin I used to live in.
So this was years before that happened.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, several years. And when people would say, "Well, how do I get to your cabin?" I'd say, "Go down this road, turn left and right, and then down this road you'll see a white triangle." And so they could find me at night even.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I didn't know what it meant.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, I just know that it's related to power and divine presence and purpose. Because the
Power,
triangle,
divine presence, and purpose. Those are
yes,
three legs.
yes,
Three legs of the triangle.
right,
Yeah. When I first got my triangle tattoo, it was the first tattoo that I got after college. So, mind you, my father told me, you are not allowed to get tattoos. And if you get a tattoo while I'm paying for you to go to college, you will pay me back with interest. This was the threat. So 2 weeks after I graduated, I got my first tattoo.
that's good.
And so it's this one. So
Yeah,
look, I have just right here, I have 5 triangles. Okay. But this was, you know, and you probably recall, Dad, that I was doing Korean Tai Chi. Um, and which is called Don Hawk Energy School. But I was
right,
doing these exercises that were really opening me, changing me, advancing me. Like I was growing. And one of the principles was the harmonization of the heaven, the earth, and the human being.
well,
And that was how I saw it, was as the triple spiral, right?
right,
And then come to find out the triple spiral, this is my interpretation of it, this image here, you know. Then I find out, oh, the triple spiral is a huge Celtic symbol,
right,
you know, and
yeah,
like, and you know, a Gaelic symbol, I should say, because it's also found in other places where Gaul had been in France and otherwise. So, you know, the triangles with me too. Then, you know, and one of the things that I have learned in working with Rumara is that there is um uh something that we're referring to as the sovereign seal,
mm,
which is basically like the security of your being, right? The security of your sovereignty, basically, that when you feel like you have uh, uh, like you're compromised, or you have entities, or you don't feel like you can connect to the divine or connect to your own self, that there's a disturbance between you and your sovereign seal.
Mm.
And so when I saw my sovereign seal, guess what form it's in? So it's a triangle. And then it has this intricate energy that's kind of, just frequencies that's written in between it, that looks almost like Celtic nodding,
Yeah.
you know but it's all like information about you and your soul that keeps you sovereign. So there, it's present in the field, and powerful. Yay triangles.
Yay.
So yeah, Ariana says, I don't think I understand these sovereign seals. She's heard me talk about it before. I'm still learning about it too. This is, I'm discovering things through Rumara's eyes, and things that I'm just like, what's that,
Mm.
and because when I'm incorporated with her, when I'm in mediumship with her, I'm seeing through her eyes, and the way that she sees the world, the way that she sees humans when she works on us, or just collective energy. So it's fascinating, and I'm not always like, can you please explain what I'm seeing right now? She's just going about her business, while I'm kind of in the background going, what the you know so yeah, it's all really fascinating. What do you think is missing from, now, just looking from the perspective of hypnotherapy in general,
Mhm.
okay, and knowing that you work with the divine, that you have brought the divine into the protocols,
Mhm.
right? So whether or not that is included in your answer, what do you think is missing from hypnotherapy these days?
Well, that um, raises the question of what's the purpose of what I do,
Mhm.
and in clinically and therapeutically, and the concept of it you can think of as removing obstacles, the impression on the soul of trauma
Mhm.
and strong belief systems that are in the way of the natural expression. So I have a vision, sort of all of the trauma that we have all collected individually
Mhm.
being swept away by winds of love and healing. And what remains is the self. So
Mm.
that the purpose, when a purpose when a person does regression, and we invoke the divine presence in one way or another, and there are different ways of doing that, then they come into touch with the self, with their own being, usually through the heart, and realization of being free of something that was just there a few moments ago. It's not
Yeah.
there anymore, and it's if they can breathe for the
Mm.
first time.
Yeah.
So imagine the world and the populace having an intention of coming to that in their own ways,
Yeah.
which is to bring healing to trauma that's obstructing them now. Like all these idiots who won't do this or won't do that, and there's dark ones attached. So
Yeah.
clearing those out to go to difficult experiences that they even have conscious recall of in therapy, and asking divine presence to come and touch them in those.
Right.
And you can
So,
do it with Jesus or Mary,
mhm,
Elijah. I,
mhm,
I work with him all the time. He's actually in me.
right.
I can't
Wait,
get
which
away from
one? Eli, you can't get away from. Wait, Jesus or Elijah?
it.
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that the purpose of what can be incorporated into therapists' tools and hypnotherapy is the intention of um, being bringing the experience of the divine
Mhm.
to the trauma of the client or patient or their person, that
So,
so that
but
that becomes their experience.
mhm, mhm.
Anything less than that is uh, promoting realizations and an intellectual understanding. And oh yeah, I know why I did that, because I was a son of a bitch when I was 4 years old and so forth. And I'm still that, Well,
Right.
no,
That's not bringing healing to it. That's just
that's
bringing
right. That's right.
awareness.
It's just
Yeah.
bringing intellectual understanding. The
Right.
rational mind is fun, but it's not healing.
Right. So this is where um I think regressionists, hypnotherapists, y- um I said that I do past life regression before I could really own the title of hypnotherapist for
Uh huh.
myself.
Okay.
And I think that was just like my level of competency that I was just aware of, like, yes, I know how to do this thing. I have training through experience and reading my dad's book over and over and over again, right? And just, this stuff. But I think that what is really here, that the biggest difference that is really important, is that the absence of the divine, right?
Yeah. Right.
um as well as just the presence even of a sacred container of some kind, right? So I know that we do things differently. You and I have had completely different lives and training, right?
Right.
And so um uh I create a certain container, and the way that you create a container is just by inviting the divine in, right? Like, I have a whole thing where I'm like basically drawing the line and saying, if you're not of the highest light, everybody out, and and the way that you do it, which I love and appreciate, just the simplicity of trusting the divine beings that you work with
Right.
to create that safe container, you know? And that and I even last week was talking about when I saw a hypnotherapist when I was in college, and just recognizing that what she was trying to do wasn't working because she wasn't involving the divine, and that it was just this, changing the mind process.
Right. Right.
And like you were saying, it's just like an intellectual working with the mind body instead of working with the whole human.
Yeah. I have a student uh, who has grown a lot, and she was sharing uh, recently how she worked with a client of hers, and that at some point in that process, she did she had the her client go into altered state or hypnosis and
Mhm,
did a reframing. Well,
mhm.
no,
Yeah,
the reframing is something that's probably still taught in schools of hypnotherapy. But
yeah,
if I can use the word, it's bullshit, because it involves the rational mind of
right,
how you want something to be and then imagine it happening. But that's not healing. That's
right.
just utilization of the rational mind. So I said to her that she had to go back with the client to the trauma and bring in divine presence to touch the client in the trauma experience.
Mhm.
That would totally transform. So
Right.
then the evolution out of that healing would be spontaneity and um,
The alchemy
indicators
takes over.
of being connected with themselves and running true with that instead of thinking about how it should be.
Can you show your book again? The name of your book, I'm gonna actually, just while you're talking, I'm gonna get a link also to it. It's also available on Kindle. So the New Regression Therapy.
Now the
Yeah.
Kindle version is the first edition.
Okay.
So there's some things that are not included in that that are in this one, in
Mm-hmm.
the second edition printed.
Okay. So so what if there is a subconscious part of the client, subconscious or even conscious part of the client, um that doesn't want to heal, that is in full resistance? I know you and I have been talking about this personally, but I would really love for people to hear, how do you address even the parts of yourself that are like, "Ugh, I don't want, I don't want to face that. I don't want to look at that. And no, I'm so fucking mad about how my life has been, or how I was raised, or how fucked up this situation or that was. And I'm still pissed. And I don't think that I need healing. I think that my anger is righteous and it belongs with me because it motivates me." I'm making
Yeah,
this up.
yeah. How's that working for you?
Right? Right? So what, as a practitioner, as a facilitator, what do you do with the resentment or the resistance to the
That's
healing itself?
excellent. Great question. Two answers.
Yeah.
One is ask the client to go into where they're feeling that resistance and
Mhm.
to help them uh, assist in more awareness of how I feel. I'm not going to do this. I don't want to do this. So say, okay, good. So feel that part in you that feel that is the resistance. Then you steal the protocol from Core Transformation by Connie Ray Andreas.
Great book.
Yes, and you say to the client, ask that part that's resistance what it wants,
Hmm.
and that it, unless it's an attachment, which could be,
Mhm.
it will describe something positive like peace or love or rest or
Yeah.
union. And then, so imagine
To not
having,
be angry anymore, right?
pardon?
To not be angry anymore.
No, no, no.
No?
It's not to not, but what
Right.
you want.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
so it will describe that. And then you suggest, and there's a whole protocol steps of imagine having that experience of peace. And you
Right.
know what's amazing? The client feels it right away. So
Mhm.
breathe in and out that peace feeling, let it fill you all up, and thank the part that's been resistance for that experience.
Mhm.
And then say to that part, after peace, what would you want next? And it will tell you. And it's always something loving and purposeful and divine. It may
Yeah.
say union,
Right.
or it may say love, or being held, or any number of wonderful energies that it wants to experience. So you take that first one, it says, so imagine having that being held.
Right.
And they're, in your room or in their, wherever they are, and they start feeling it. Now, who
Mm.
would have thunk that you could have this experience?
Yeah.
And then you keep going until eventually what it wants is union with the divine, with God, being at one.
Right. Ultimately.
Yes. So
Right.
that is, then you've got if I can say it that way, you've got the client in a high altered state of divine love and presence, and you suggest to it that it can carry that state back to how resistance was created.
So, okay. So just to
That's
kind of
one thing.
okay, just a quick outline. So you have heard what the self desires, or heard that part of the being that has been in anger. What do you need?
No, want.
And
What do you
or
want?
what do you want?
Right,
And I want freedom, I want connection, I want love, I want,
right.
right? Imagine it, you feel it, right? And you let that feeling fill you,
Yes.
and kind of overcome the darker aspect that was
No, no, no.
it's
It does not
transmute.
overcome. It's not overcome anything. It just comes into its own existential event experience of peace or love.
Okay. Right. So
So
it's
the
not
overcoming
alchemizing.
anything is not. It's not involved.
It's not alchemizing.
No, no. Just
Okay.
don't worry about that.
Okay.
It's too
I'm making
simple.
it more complicated than it
Yes,
actually is.
right.
Okay.
Exactly right. Right.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now,
The ego wants to understand,
yeah, fuck
Greg.
that.
Okay, second
Understanding is
way.
not healing.
Right.
Insight that comes with realizations of your own presence or yourself,
Right.
that's where that comes with healing. Insight.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
epiphanies. Right.
Right.
So then the other way to deal with the resistance is to check it out and see if there's a dark one involved.
Right. Right.
Okay. And so you can ask the client to go to where you feel that resistance and ask it, are you a part of me or separate?
Mhm. Yeah.
And if it's a part of her, then that's good. And then you want to go to where it was first created, which is regression,
Right.
and bring healing to the trauma that happened where the resistance was first being created and is still going on. If it's separate, then it's either a deceased human attached or a dark
Mhm.
one.
Right. Earthbound spirits. Right.
And you can
Or
be direct.
entities.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
you can be direct with that energy that is resistance and it says that it's separate.
Mhm.
You can say, so how long have you been here? What's your purpose being attached to Jane? You know, and
Mhm.
all
Mhm.
right. And do you have an agreement with her to be here with her or not? If so,
Right.
you want to go to where the agreement was made, where Jane was vulnerable,
Right. Going to the vulnerability.
and bring healing to the vulnerability. Then you
Right.
can invite Elijah or Mary or Jesus in to touch her in the vulnerable state. And that causes the entity to leave, usually hovering around, not completely gone. Then you ask the angels to envelop that entity in a web of pure white light and remove it into the appropriate place for it in the white light.
So, what do you do when you come across an extraterrestrial that's attached in someone's field?
I ask them if they want to go home,
Mhm.
or what's their purpose? Are there others with them? Is there a director in charge? And
Mhm.
then generally, when I've identified that someone sent them or they're here working with someone else, then I rely upon the angels of the white light to envelop them all in a mesh of gold white light, removing them out of the client's history, out of her field, out of her universe, into the appropriate place for it in the white light now.
Mhm.
And then I wait.
So in this very, this is what I really love about your process and your protocol is just this like very clear, directive, these operative words of gather up all the pieces, right?
Right.
Now,
Right.
and
Yes.
it's like, oh, nothing actually happens until you say now. Right?
Exactly
Right?
right. That's very
Yeah.
good. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing that I also really like drive home is that, when we're in this place of facilitation, that we are also, we're using our spiritual authority, the combination of our connection to the divine and our free will, right?
Right.
Or the I am
Yes.
presence, your connection to the I am, right?
Yes.
If we are not coming from that place, like you can't pussyfoot your away, like you can't just be like, will you, okay, if you could just come and run a mesh of pure white light, that
Right.
would be great,
Yeah.
instead of being like, you know, and
Or
that
would you
there's,
mind coming?
could you please,
Yeah.
if it's okay, you know, and what I have felt and received, especially from Archangel Michael, is like, just tell me what to do. I'll do it, even though he knows what to do, right? But it is that action of you commanding the light, of saying, do this,
Yes.
do this, do this,
Yes.
making sure that all of these levels are taken care of. You know what I mean? And that there doesn't have to be, what I really love is like your direct communication with extraterrestrials, right? Like, why are you doing this? What sent you? And what I've also experienced with you directly, and this may have been through my own session or maybe a remote session, was asking the ETs to look inside themselves and remember their own light, because they also have free will. These are souled individuals, right, that have free
Yes.
will, so we can't just necessarily just banish them. It doesn't help. You can remove them from your field, right, and say only the light of God exists here, right, and you can claim stand in the light of the Christ, but that being is still out there somewhere, right?
Yeah. Right.
And looking to take advantage in some way or interfere or whatever their intention is. So when you ask them to remember their own light, and I've watched this in the session, they look inside and they go, oh, oh, I'm bothering this person. There's like an awareness when they realize their own light, that they see like, oh, okay, I'm gonna back off, right? Like it's
Very
they
good.
they
Yeah.
come to their own healing of recognizing that they're interfering with someone else's free will, whether they know it or not. And a lot of times, a lot of ETs are really just here observing, and they don't actually, these are the non-nefarious ones, they don't actually realize that they are interfering
Yes.
or that they're affecting someone,
Right.
even just by
Very good.
watching, you
Right.
know? So, uh, there was, so here's a little case study that I wanna share with you real quick, and then we'll probably start to wrap it up. And I just loved this conversation, and
Yeah.
there's
Me
been
too.
a lot of really beautiful support, in the comments as well. Um, so there was a client that was working with a that I was actually helping another individual with this client who was having these grays that were coming back. Like every few days, they'd be cleared and then they would come back. They'd be cleared and they would come back. And so when I looked into her field with the help of Rumara, um, we could see, because dragons heal DNA, so we were able to look at her DNA and see that one of these grays was her very far in the future descendant, and that they shared DNA.
Wow.
And so this was how the Greys kept coming back and finding her, because the one individual was her descendant. However far in the future, because the tall Greys are actually human descendants of a particular timeline. So by changing the DNA and communicating to this one that knew that it was her descendant, knew that they had this, so in the session communicating this one, we're changing her DNA so that you don't find her again, because you're not serving anybody, including yourself, by interfering as her descendant, right? And so Rumara changed some of the coding. It was just 3 lines of code that she just changed for this woman's benefit, and then cleared them again, and they never came back.
Great. Nice work.
I mean, it's fascinating to me, because that was the first time that ever happened as well.
Yeah.
And to have that awareness that, wait, we could have beings that are visiting us and even, passively interfering, that are connected to us in some way. Fascinating. Fascinating. So, what do we need to understand in the broader scale as humans in this very interactive galactic presence, right? Like, it feels like more than ever we're having support and interference from non-humans, right?
Okay.
What do we do about it?
What do we do about it? Well, my suggestion is that you begin learning how to clear dark ones that are attached to other people,
Mhm.
and do that, because the dark ones are predominant, where you see behavior that is judgmental and angry and hostile and manipulative. Guess what?
Yeah, there's
It's not
attachments there.
because they had a bad childhood,
Right.
which they very well may have.
Because
Well,
of the
that's what
presence
I
of the
do.
dark ones somewhere, probably too, right?
I'm sorry.
If they had a difficult childhood, it could have been because of the presence of those dark
Yes,
ones.
very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to do that healing, it is a great service, whether the people you're bringing that healing to know it or not. And they don't have to
Mm.
know, but you can bring love in and ask to help have identified any attachments, any dark ones. And of course, if they're deceased humans, that's a different protocol.
Right.
If you identify them, to help them go home, to bring healing to their death experience and go into the light.
And they need to choose the light for themselves, because they still have free will.
Oh, yeah, right.
Right. Right. So, is there anything else besides learning an SRT protocol? So yours or someone else's, right? There are other people who have created protocols based on Terry Palmer, based on core transformation, based on a lot of people kind of figuring out how to do this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Um, so besides learning a protocol to maintain your own spiritual hygiene, to help other loved ones in your lives, what do you think is the most important thing that people who are on a spiritual path can do for themselves right now, especially with so much chaos and warmongering and
Yeah.
fuckery? How can we help ourselves spiritually right now, Greg?
Okay, so there's an expression by an old friend that comes to mind,
Hmm.
and it says, "Pray your ass off."
That's a good direction.
Like, what do you want? You want
Yes.
peace for yourself. You want healing in Washington, whatever.
Yeah.
And
Pray.
if it's purposeful and the what you want is accompanied by love in your intention,
Right.
make it a devotional prayer where it's one thing to sit and go, "Oh, I really wish this would happen." No, sit, light a candle, have relationship with the divine through that protocol, and pray, asking that such and such take place for
Mhm.
healing, for the world, for our country, for each other, with and feel the intention build. And you can say, okay, Father, Mother, I want this.
Yeah.
Please bring this experience to these people now.
Right. Open the hearts of the leaders. Yeah.
Yeah, good
Hey,
idea.
hey, Greg, will you please lead us in a powerful prayer right now
Okay.
for ourselves and the world?
All right. So we ask those that love us, that are witnessing this conversation and this journey that we're all sharing together now across all the continents and Canada, United States, to be with us, to keep us deeply connected with our own beings, and to fill our hearts with the recognition of that being, and that we're all here for that one purpose, for union with that being. Keep us aligned in that one purpose for ourselves and for each other and for everyone. And bring that blessing, loved ones, blessed love, to all those that are here for this generation of our earthly experience now.
Hmm. And so it is.
So it is.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So one last question, because I think it's really just really valuable to understand the beings that are available to us. You know, I introduce a lot of people to the heart of Elisha,
Good.
and I would love it just to end our conversation if you can invoke him and just share his medicine a little bit. What does he do for us, and how can we work with him?
Okay.
Not to make you cry or anything, like no mushy mush.
I'll stay away from that. Just total control. Well,
The heart does what the heart does, you know.
yeah, he is a great being. His capacity for bringing healing to huge numbers of people or huge events is limitless. That's what I keep learning about him.
Hmm.
He can be your friend that you're walking down the street with, that you're having idle conversation with, or your greatest ally for your own healing. To sit, feel what your uh, funny what the jury is saying about your issue. Is the jury in or out? And if you have a problem, take it to him, just
Mhm.
like you would take it to Jesus or Mary. But he's a different personality, though he's a brother of Christ.
He's the evolution of John the Baptist.
That's a technical question. We'd have to, yeah, he was the John the
He
Baptist,
was.
or he
Right.
had that expression.
Hmm.
He was also on the planet like 4,000 years ago or something, uh, with
As
Jesus
Elisha.
and Moses and
Right.
all that group.
Right.
So his the biggest thing is to learn about him by asking him.
Hmm.
I remember when he first appeared consciously to a group of students and so forth that were friends of mine in this circle where I was supposed to be there for this one day and I couldn't. And my friend Anne had been wondering who this one sphere with pink around him was that kept showing up in their remote healing work with other angels.
Yeah.
So they decided to ask him to come in and explain himself. So they called him forward, and a pillar of light appeared in the room in the center of the circle. And the words came through Robert, I am the heart of Elijah. Yeah. Just can't get away from it. So and hold on a minute.
Mm-hmm. Take your time. Yeah.
And so he taught and he explained where he was in the Old Testament, where Jesus went up onto Mount Tabor and Elijah appeared and Moses and all that stuff. And then so Anne explained that to me, and then I was sick. After I got off the phone with her, I sat up on the edge of the bed and I said, I'm going to have to get to know you. Would you come in and sit with me?
Mm-hmm.
And he did. And that was the beginning. And I've grown in knowledge of his presence and his teaching ever since. His capacity for loving huge populations of people and without judgment.
Yeah.
And transmuting those doubts and fears and everything, even dark ones, is just amazing. And he's always available, always present. And just like I did, any of your listeners can ask him to come in and sit down with him on the bed so he can get to know him.
So when you ask him to come and touch a field of experience,
Yeah.
he brings not only the healing, but also the insight.
Yes.
The awareness of
Right.
whether it was karma or, whatever it was, that also brings at the same time the forgiveness, the compassion, the alchemy. I would refer to it as the alchemy that makes you go, that lightens everything, turns everything into that healing energy.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. We are talking about the heart of Elijah. This is a being that, if you've had a private session with me, you've heard you've heard this name. I call him into every session, even if I'm not, actively working with him. Thank you, Dad. And of course, if you know me, I named my son Elijah as well.
Yeah.
And Elijah, my son, also just carries that big, beautiful heart with him. It's really amazing. So I'd love to actually end our session today with my Elijah song, if you don't mind, Greg.
Okay.
And I received this song long time ago. It's one of my kind of medicine hymns that I kind of co-received with another girlfriend. So thank you to all of you who have been here this whole time with us. Thank you so much for your presence, for your reception, for your questions, for your comments. It's really well received. I just realized that you haven't been able to see the comments this whole time because I forgot to tell you to turn them on. That's okay. So in closure, just I welcome you to sit back and receive the medicine of this song, and to also just remind us that we are here to remember ourselves, right? And that the presence of the divine is here to help us get out of our own way, so that we can do that. So thank you. Thank you to the divine beings who help us, who guide us, and help us remember who we are. My sister, I present you to my mother. My sister, I present you to my father. My sister, I present you to my family. My brothers and my sisters are with me. My sister, I present you to my family. My brothers and my sisters are with me. My sister, I present you to my garden. My sister, I present you to the earth. Sitting here upon the sacred mother, the blessings and the love all come from her. Sitting here upon the sacred mother, the blessings and the love all come from her. Guided by divine beings whose shining light envelops us, we have arrived to the golden room. The heart of Elijah welcomes us. We have arrived to the golden room. The heart of Elijah welcomes us. He's here to reveal the secret truth when you place his hand upon your heart, healing all the sacred pains from the divine path you'll never part. Healing all the sacred pains from the divine path you'll never part. Thanks.
Thank you, Aaron. It's beautiful.
Thanks, Dad. Thanks for a wonderful conversation. I love you so much.
Yeah,
We'll do this again. I think we should do it on a regular basis, you know?
that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love sharing with everyone, you know, how I was raised and how open you raised me spiritually, that you did not put a Bible in my face. You just said, here's Jesus, you know? Jesus is your friend. Mother Mary is your friend and your helper, and you can call on them whenever you want. And so thank you for that. You
You're
know?
welcome.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, blessings to everyone listening.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your prayers, all your wisdom. Love you so much. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you again next week. Take care.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.